All right, guys, it's draft night for the NBA, and I have you guys on because we're, talking some NBA. Even though the NBA season is over, a new one is beginning. We must talk about the draft, and things are already going by. We're already probably at 11th pick, as we saw. The Hawks took Zakir Ricochet. I hope I'm saying that right, but the talented wing from France, and then the Wizards with the number 2 pick took Alex Sarr with the out of France as well. So I mean we got to see 2 Frenchmen, and then also another one picked by the Charlotte Hornets with the 7th or 6th pick, I forget. Excuse me. There's been a French takeover. I mean, international ball has a high ceiling for prospects, as we all have seen over the years. As I think the last 5 MVPs are all international players, or interchangeably. I'm interested to see which of these guys might come out the best. I feel like Ricochet might have the best situation since he's playing in Atlanta and he's a good wing. Can play the 3, the swing, the wing. But he's a prototypical type of player in today's NBA, and it's intriguing to see how this might all turn out. But what do you guys so far think about what's going on in this draft as we saw the top 10 picks all get selected so far? I'll start with you, Glenn.
Man, let me tell you something, man. When it comes to the draft, we talk about rolling the dice. I mean, the dice don't get rolling any more than in the NBA draft. Let me tell you something. Got a lot of different GMs and everybody's not smart. Let's be real. I mean, everybody running the team isn't the brightest guy in the room. I mean, I remember my man Dan Levitard said one day, a lot of bozos run teams. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you just go out there and I guess they're doing what their due diligence through what they their scouts and whatnot, but a lot of guys mess this up, man. It's one thing to play in these leagues, whether it be college or overseas. When you get to the NBA, this is it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So a lot of times, all this rolling of the dice, you don't know how this stuff's going to play out, man. It's tough to make calls on it, man. Real tough.
I feel like this draft could be set with some loaded dice. I'm not gonna lie with you, just because of the prospects involved and everything. It's just like you might miss here, man. You're probably the chances of you hitting with one of these kids are very low, given the situation. Every situation presents itself differently, and each player can showcase their talents in the best light in the best situation. But I mean, given that you're in a draft and most of these teams that are picking in the lottery aren't really that good, what situation could be good? Like a situation like the Spurs could be good for somebody like Steph Castle, who I think might actually be the best player in that coming out for his situation, ready to play in the NBA. But I mean, these other guys just seem like a bunch of projects. But that's just my view.
Difference makers. That's my
right.
thing. I mean, you come into the team. How much better is the team now? I mean,
right.
Do you fit in? You know what I mean?
Like, how much do you change the needle for a team? You know what I mean?
That's my thing.
Can you really put a team over the hump? What do you think, Jay?
I think just like you said, I think this draft is a lot of projects. I mean, if I was a GM, if my guy isn't there, I'm looking to make moves. Look at what the Knicks did with Mikal Bridges. They gave up 4 first-round picks and a bunch of pick swaps. If you don't see what you're looking for in the draft, I mean, the NBA draft's a lot harder to evaluate talent than I think the NFL.
I agree.
Because you only have 2 rounds to play with.
No, I agree. But like a team like the Thunder, when they made the deal with the Clippers, I mean, they were given Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, which was already a great prospect coming out. But like they were able to use some of those picks to mold around him and make a great team. Like taking Giddey, even though they just moved him, or having like Jalen Williams on the team, or other pieces that really worked. I gotta give Sam Presti a lot of credit for making that work through the draft, which as we all seen over a lot of years, a lot of bozos, as we like to call it, just keep swinging and missing. It's really hard. I would actually imagine it's harder with this type of degree because there's not as many picks. You know what I mean? Like in the NFL, you have 7 rounds. The NHL, you have a bunch. MLB has almost 200 freaking rounds. I can't even keep up. But in 2 rounds, it's really hard to select the right guys for your team, even given with the G League and everything involved to develop people. It's still it's still a hit or miss. And then the international aspect, they're introducing them into a new game. So what I mean, the game overseas is a lot different than what's played here. So as we see over time. But that's what makes things in the draft very interesting. But I did want to get into detail about who you guys think might actually be somebody in this draft. Like if you guys were to pick somebody in the draft that could complement a team, who do you think would help? Not maybe change the needle, but what do you think, Jay?
Coming up with limited knowledge on a lot of these guys, especially the overseas guys. I mean, you can say you got to watch some of the guys in UConn during the tournament. I mean, I like to follow college sports in general, especially football and basketball, because I like to think I know, or I get to see what's coming into the league.
Right.
So, I mean, even though watching basketball this year, I felt like nobody really pushed my pile to the extent where, this guy's coming to the team, not a team's going. I'm wondering if any of these guys, Stephon Castle or the international guys, I can't I have very limited knowledge on, besides what I've seen in highlights
Right.
the last couple of days on Sports Center. But I'm just wondering. I mean,
Who?
so much of it has to do with fit, man.
Yeah.
So much has to do with fit. So where you get drafted and what your role is going to be is going to make a big difference. I'm really the rolling of the dice is in full effect here, man, because I have no idea what's going to happen in this thing. I mean, I haven't seen any player that didn't really jump off the page me in college this year like that.
Yeah.
So it's all going to probably be fit and timing that's going to make these guys' career.
I agree. I mean, if we go back to like who won a national championship, UConn. Like they had 2 players in the top 10 this year. We had Donovan Klingland, who could have been the number 1 overall pick, and you got like Steph Castle, who was a transfer who came over to UConn and polished his skills to help that team win. But like given to like what the exposure of what we've been exposed to, like it is hard to tell, and that's why this is a big roll of the dice. Like nobody knows, nobody can really transition into the NBA the right way sometimes. Even like these French players, yeah, Wembanyama worked out, but like if we go back to like the Knicks taking Frank, I can't even pronounce his name, Ntilikina. Yes.
Yes.
But that was a big miss. Like they thought like his skill set was gonna transition into the NBA very well, and that was a total miss. And like I think
him over Donovan Mitchell. I think
that's a brutal one.
I think that was the one. It was during one of Stephen A's little rants. I think that was the one.
That was a bad one. It really was. But like that's what I'm saying. That's rolling the dice, like Glenn says. Like that's taking a shot on someone. You're feeling like his ceiling could be really high, or even like a player like Dante Exum now. Like he's still like he's on a team, but he's a backup player. But given where he was taken and everything, there was a lot of high expectations and a high ceiling. That's why these international players sometimes don't mesh in the right way. But it's also like Glenn said and I said, it's about the situation. And if it doesn't fit, if the shoe don't fit, it ain't gonna work.
It's not, no doubt.
Your toes gonna bust out of that shit, and everything's gonna fall apart. So
Right.
that just brings a lot of pressure. But I mean, if you were to pick someone, Jay, who do you think might flourish in a team or in the right situation?
I think honestly, the guy, Zachary, the first pick.
Yes.
Because the Atlanta Hawks are a borderline playoff team as currently constructed.
Yeah. I mean, them winning the lottery was huge.
Right. The fact that they got there is great. Like that was the luck. That was true luck.
Right.
I think Stephon Castle's also in a good situation.
Yes. I think he's got the best chance, personally.
Yeah, but I think Zachary, I think he can guard 1 through 4. Whether they trade Trae Young or not, they were already a borderline playoff team as it. So they have a lot to play with.
I agree.
And, even if they get rid of Trae Young, you still have DeJounte Murray out there.
Right.
You still have Bogdanovich out there, and you still have Clint Capella. Whether they keep him or not, that's up to them. But they don't have a bad team.
No,
especially in the East.
No, their team can definitely contend. I definitely gotta watch out for them. But like, they're gonna have to.
Trouble.
Yeah, I agree. But like, I think for their aspect, they gotta really choose between DeJounte, and Trae Young. Like, Trae Young has his nights where he puts up stats, but it's almost turning into the point where he's becoming a stat pattern, and it's not really like helping the team elevate to where it was. And
defensive liability.
Everybody knows that. Like, if you're a guard and you see Trae Young on the other side, you're gonna go right at him every time. Like,
so I think Steph Curry can post him up.
Yeah, and that's saying something as big as that is. I did want to bring into light our friend that we were talking about back when we were talking about the tournament, our friend the Sasquatch, as I believed he would not be a first-round pick, but now he's showed all of the doubters wrong and became a top 10 pick for the Memphis Grizzlies. My question is, I don't know how he's going to fit with Jaren Jackson and everything involved, but he could just end up taking Steven Adams' job. I don't know, but like,
it's all about a role.
It
Find a role.
Yes.
Is there a role for Edie on the team?
Yes.
Do your job, be good in your role, and then you can be an effective player.
I agree. My thing is with him is I'm going to be interested to see if he can keep up the pace. I don't know if like teams will have to, if the Grizzlies in particular will have to slow down their fast pace offense as they like to run up and down the court like most teams in the NBA. Like I'm just interested to see how this damn tree is going to fit on the court with them. But I mean, being 7'4" is an advantage, and we all saw his his mid-range game is pretty unstoppable given that size and everything. But my man can put up points.
Can't teach height.
No, you can't. And and one thing I noticed too during the tournament with him, he did seem like he has a big chip on his shoulder because he seems like he never got the respect because people just think he's tall and he makes everything look too easy. But I saw during some of his interviews like he's really about trying to like show people that he can play and really play with the best players in the world. So we'll see how that turns out. I'm waiting for trades. I mean, we saw a trade yesterday that that shook up the world. I think the only person that the freaking New York Knicks need now, other than Jay Wright, is freaking Chris Jenkins, the guy that hit the shot for the championship. He's the one that hit the shot, not these other guys that they're all getting together. Why don't you get Chris Jenkins there too, right? Just want to say because I am a Nova fan. But I mean, that's going to be interesting to watch. I mean, I don't know if Tibbs is going to run them in the dirt. But
Mikal Bridges is an Iron Man.
he is an Iron Man. He has been. I mean, getting OG back too is big. I mean, it's going to be interesting though. Like with how do you formulate a lineup with that? I mean, you guys got like 6 guys now or 7 guys with all that, with Julius Randle coming back and Mitchell Robinson.
Your boy Nikola went to OKC.
Oh, Topic went there. Oh wow.
Yeah.
The Serbs,
He's
bro.
gonna he'll replace Giddy. That's fine.
Yeah, he's a guard. Yes, he's a guard. I mean, with Caruso there, that's a great fit too. Like they probably scouted Topic to this point where like, all right, we feel comfortable if he slides to us, we'll take him, and then we'll take Caruso, and get rid of the damn pedophile that is Josh Giddey.
Yeah, but back to your Knicks situation. You got Josh Hart and DiVincenzo coming off the bench. That's serious business.
It is serious business,
That
especially
would be right.
and especially on top of it. I mean, you have arguably their best player coming back healthy. You know, what I mean, I think they're the biggest threats to Boston. And
Oh, they're gonna get Boston fits.
So, the NHL season is finally done. And man, oh man, what a series. The Stanley Cup Finals definitely came through in a big way. And definitely helped the sport out in a big way, especially with the ratings, as in America, compared to last year's ratings, went up 43%. In America, just America alone, 7.7 million people tuned in and watched this Game 7, which is huge compared to last year's numbers with the Vegas Golden Knights and the Florida Panthers. But with this Game 7 and everything on the line to win Lord Stanley's Cup, the Florida Panthers came through in their house, the barn, in sunny Sunshine, Florida, winning that game 2-1. It was every bit, and you could definitely tell that everyone left it all out on the ice on both sides. It was an epic matchup. I got a little anxious for the Florida Panthers. I definitely was after Sam Reinhart scored in the second period and they got that 1-goal lead. I was like, okay, now they just got to protect the lead. So that whole third period, man, it was a long 20 minutes. And even though the Panthers, I believe from what I read on the stat board, only have 4 shots on goal, including when Edmonton pulled their goalie later, compared to Edmonton outshooting them. Edmonton was gunning, but it seemed like Edmonton, their entire team, they just ran out of gas. They weren't able to do anything. When the pucks got on the boards the last minute, Florida just kept cover of the puck and was not able to have Edmonton do anything with the puck or take any chances on the goal against Sergei Bobrovsky. And I have to give Sergei a big kudos because his performances in the last 3 games, horrendous. His save percentage went under 900. But when it mattered, in the Game 7, the 35-year-old goalie, prodigy goalie, finally won his first Stanley Cup. So kudos to him. Kudos to the Florida Panthers and everything involved in their franchise, winning their first Stanley Cup. Much kudos and much praise to that team. Starting with, from Alexander Barkov to, their first line that really stepped up this game. Carter Verhaeghe scoring the first goal was big. Even though Edmonton right back was able to score and tie it up. It was a really good game, and honestly there was a lot of chances that Florida left things vulnerable, especially around the net area. But you saw you saw a lot of Florida's defensive men come in and throw their body out in the line, whether it's either taking a block shot or even helping Bobrovsky over by the net when there's a big scrummage or rummage around going for the puck and everything. It was really a good game. I'm not gonna lie. My love for hockey or my liking for hockey, I wouldn't say love just yet, but this season was a good season. And if anything, I think the NBA should take a couple notes from what Gary Bettman had set up for this season, especially the way this Stanley Cup concluded. Hockey really put the cherry on top of a great season and everything involved. Their TV deals and everything that they were able to pull in this year was huge. Like I said, the ratings for this year, much better. In total North America, including Mexico and Canada, which is the home of hockey, they totaled out to be around 16 million views for that final game. And overall, the viewership and everything involved with the NHL went up. And even though the NBA, as I took a jab and shot at Adam Silver and their new TV deal, the NBA was still able to pull in 11 million for these final games, even though they were really brutal and weren't really that entertaining, and really one-sided. But I mean, I say this in marks of if there's any type of gambling gods or some type of control going on in sports. I'm just saying, if there is, you you should definitely take some notes from the NHL if you are setting things up in the NBA. Just saying. But overall, I'm just saying the hockey script was better than the NBA script. I'm just saying, calling it how I see that. But in light of everything here, great series. To the Connor McDavid part of this series, the last 2 games, he went ghost. He only really played 2 good games in this entire series. And for him to win the Conn Smythe, the first losing player since the 2003 Anaheim Mighty Ducks, Jean Giguere. Yes, I do remember. Yes, Connor McDavid is the first losing player to win that award. Although he did have a historic postseason, posting up 42 points, 8 goals, and 34 assists. Only 2 players other than Mr. McDavid to do such feats are the great one, Wayne Gretzky, and Mario Lemieux. So, winning the Conn Smythe almost seemed like a consolation trophy for Connor. He didn't even skate on the ice to receive the award after they lost, which I don't blame him. A lot of people are giving him heat and shit for not, being on the ice, especially with the many Oiler fans that showed up in that arena, which is really crazy because we all saw right from the get-go from the national anthems when they sung "Oh Canada," that place was very loud, and it almost became to the point where it was a big pride factor for both countries. After that was sang, the Canadian national anthem, the USA national anthem was sang, and everyone united, and it was really cool. It was really cool to see the power of sports uniting people in that type of fashion and light. But overall, in the last game here, it was really everything was left out on the ice. From what I noticed from Edmonton, it almost seemed like Carolina was okay with putting up their defensive wall again, and it worked. Pressuring on McDavid and having McDavid put the pressure on his teammates to put the other, tie up the game and send it into overtime was definitely a factor here. From what I viewed, especially within the last 5 minutes, it appeared that most of these guys were drained on the Edmonton Oilers side. They were definitely drained. They were tired. They couldn't finish the job. They couldn't get, even if this game was to go into overtime, I don't know if these guys were going to be able to pull things off with the way Florida kind of got more relaxed on the defensive side. I'm just saying if I felt like this game was to go to overtime, Florida probably still would have been able to win just because of energy and stamina. Listening to some podcasts about the Florida Panthers, from my understanding, Paul Maurice, who finally won his first Stanley Cup in 27 years of coaching, which is really crazy, but now he can finally, stamp his legacy in the NHL and probably make it to the Hall of Fame. But back to Paul Maurice, I know conditioning was a big thing in the training camp, almost killing these guys, USA Miracle 1980 hockey style, but he definitely had these guys ready, and from Kachuk to everybody else on that Florida team, they earned it. They really earned that win. It was not easy, as you can see, especially avoiding a catastrophic collapse that would have only happened since 1942 when the Toronto Maple Leafs came back and won a Game 7 after being down 3-0. But also, this would have been, if the Florida Panthers were to have lost this game, they would have been the first team since the 1976 and 1977. I could be off a year or two. But the Boston Bruins did make the Stanley Cup Finals both of those years and lost them back to back. Seeing how Florida lost last year in the Stanley Cup Finals, and for them to lose this year, it would have been a big kick in the balls. Paul Maurice definitely would have been under a lot of fire, especially losing, being up 3-0 and then losing. But it didn't happen that way, and South Florida has a team that they can be proud of, and they will be celebrating. I'm not sure when the parade's going to happen, but I'm sure they're going to celebrate like any team in South Florida would. It's a big feat. Definitely one of the biggest Game 7s in my lifetime that I've ever seen, especially with all the stipulations involved here. But kudos to the Florida Panthers for pulling this off. And for the Edmonton Oilers, it's going to be a big offseason, as I understand that Leon Draisaitl is going to be a free agent. And, behind Connor McDavid, that is his running mate, even though for this series he was pushed back to the second line. But with success, for the most part, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. I think Edmonton still is a force to be reckoned with. As long as Connor McDavid, the best player, is on the ice, that team is going to be in a contention no matter what. I understand that the Western Conference is filled with teams, but they were the last team to make it out. And for them to show the guts and will to tie up this series and bring everything to this Game 7 is really huge. So I think the Edmonton Oilers do have a chance to possibly run things back and maybe even get the trophy next year. Time will tell. And also this offseason will, be a big depiction of where this team is moving forward. On the other end of the ice with the Florida Panthers, for the most part, their core is going to stay intact. Barkov, who's finally, for Alexander Barkov, especially what I was iterating in the last episode of him having a poor postseason last year. And, he had an okay final series, and he had a good, overall this postseason, he had a good postseason. Finals, a little on the lackluster side, but he still, did the dirty work as a captain. And, for those first 3 games, he was right on McDavid and causing a lot of problems for Edmonton. But for Barkov to finally raise that trophy, all the time that he's put in on that Florida team, coming in as a 19-year-old, he's not even 30 years old yet, and he's already been 10 years in the NHL. Him and Ekblad, started off young with that franchise, and now for them to reap all the rewards and benefits from everything that they built is pretty cool to really watch. I became a Florida Panthers fan, but within good reason. This team's been fighting, and like I reiterated in other episodes, they went through the gauntlet this entire postseason, and they just needed to pull out one more game, and they were able to pull it out. They earned it, and kudos to them. I can respect a champion like that, honestly. And yeah. Overall, I must say, like I said, kudos to this NHL season. I was watching. The Flyers being somewhat good helped me watch, but I'm excited to see where they're going to go moving forward with Tortorella, Danny Briere, and the team that they have moving forward, Kucherov, set to come over and play with the Flyers next year if they get everything right in terms of his contract, because I understand that he was bought out by his contract team on the KHL. So there's a lot of interesting things in the Flyers world, but in the NHL world in general, Florida has taken over, as some Canadians might despise hearing that. But overall, you need to recognize that this team earned this championship and won it fair and square. And kudos to y'all. Shout out to the Ice Cats. I am happy y'all won. You deserved it, and now y'all get to celebrate. So, I get compared to a lot of people in terms of my facial looks, okay? I've heard Billy Madison. I've heard Jason Biggs. I've heard Anwell. I've heard Danny Yankee. I've also heard, which I compared to the most, is Klay Thompson. So, for this take, I am going to pretend that I am Klay Thompson, and seeing that I am now a free agent and free to sign anywhere I want on June 30th, I am going to discuss my options and what I feel as a 34-year-old man enjoying my life in California, what I should really be doing. Because I know I can still play. I'm a 5-time All-Star. I'm a 4-time champ. Hear me, Memphis? 4 times. 4 times, Memphis. And I've been a 3-time All-NBA player, okay? So I'm going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. But minus all that. Right now, what matters is my peace, my happiness, my boat, my dog Rocco. That's what matters to me. About being happy. So, where do I go? I mean, there's a lot of young teams out there that could use a player like me. I won't have to run and guard the best player, because quite frankly, as much as I don't want to admit it, I'm just not that guy in terms of defense anymore. I can still stroke it. I can still shoot it. But I might be a little step slow on defense. But that's why I got these young bulls around me to help me, right? So, as I ponder my decision and I hang out with the Bohemian national basketball team, which y'all better watch out for. We're going to be coming. But, like I said, it's going to be tough. It's a tough decision. I kind of regret not signing my 2-year extension last year, which would have gave me $48 million, $24 million a year. And the way I played, got benched, had to deal with a lot of ups and downs of getting older. It was a real punch in the gut. I had to jump in the ocean, clean myself out, drive my boat around, really think about things. Really, life is crazy, man. But for this decision, I gotta weigh out my options. So I'm hearing a couple teams have interest in me, but are they really gonna pay me the way I want to be paid? They're going to give me the contract and security that I really want. I mean, I averaged 18 points last year. That's still pretty good for a lot of teams. I know I can be of use. So, what team really complements my style the best? Or what team could really need me the most and help benefit their team? I mean, a lot of people and experts out there want to pin the Orlando Magic, who have some cap room and space to give me a deal that I'm really happy with. But are they going to give me the security that I want? I'm kind of looking for 4 years. Maybe I'm stretching it. Maybe 3 years might be my deal. But I know that I probably won't get $100 million again, which I'm okay with. I made my money. Personally, me, I just want to still show that I can contribute and maybe even win my 5th ring. 5 rings would be crazy, bro. 5 times. But I really have to weigh out my options. Orlando would be nice. The weather's nice. It's hot. It'll still be kind of near the ocean, even though I love the Pacific. I've just grown up on the Pacific my whole life. And to move to the Atlantic side of things and Florida definitely changed things. But Florida also doesn't have any tax, which is something to think about. Definitely is something to consider. They got a young team. They made the playoffs last year. I would love to play with Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, and his brother. They got some good players. Gary Cole, Trent Cole, excuse me, Cole Anthony. I'll make sure I get that right. Markelle Fultz is down there. They got a nice little team down there that I feel like I could complement with my wisdom and my skill sets. Could really help and benefit a team like that. Another team like the Thunder, a young team. They won't need me to have to cover the best player. I just, come in and do my thing. They got Caruso now. That was a big trade to get rid of Josh Giddey. After what I did to them back in the day, ripping their heart out in the Game 6. I wouldn't mind joining that team. The Mavericks would be an enticing option. I know Mark Cuban liked me, but he's not there anymore, so the factor of having two guards, I have to play the three, a lot to consider. The Sixers are an interesting option. I do like cheesesteaks, but not being near the water might really deter my decision. I don't really trust Daryl Morey. A lot of my friends and stuff tell me not to, so I don't really know the guy. But, if we sit down and chop it up, maybe things could work out. Who knows? A team that I wouldn't mind playing for is a team like Indiana. Honestly, I think a team like Indiana could really, really benefit from a player like me. You got Tyrese, you got Miles, you got Nembhard, you got a bunch of young kids. Rick Carlisle knows how to play basketball the way I like to play. I think my skill set could definitely benefit a team like that. I know I want to go somewhere where I can win, but maybe my other wants and my other needs, I have to really balance it out to make the best decision for me. Like I said, money ain't a thing. I made my money. My biggest concern is I just want to win. So, all things considered, I'm going to have to make a tough decision for me and Rocco. So, I guess we'll find out. I'll keep things under wraps. This NBA draft could move a lot of pieces. I know the Warriors, they've been thinking about trying to get Paul George and give him the contract that he wants, who's older, but, that's the business. I can't knock it. At the end of the day, I gotta do what's best for me. So, whatever that may be, I'll definitely put a lot of thought to it. I will. God willing, God bless. Okay, so for many of y'all that do not know, I am half Peruvian, so I do follow their national team. And they are in Group A of this Copa America. And they have yet to score a goal. They have one tie with Chile, and of yesterday, they lost to Canada 1-0. Seeing where this team is compared to 5 years ago, where they were in the finals of the Copa America and lost to Brazil, and was the 11th ranked team according to FIFA. They had a good run in the 2022 World Cup as they made it past the first round. And now they are currently struggling to get out of the group stage of the Copa America. They are currently the 35th ranked team according to FIFA. And with many of the same core and players, they just look older and unable to produce any offense, honestly. It's been brutal to watch. It has been. They do have a new coach, Jorge Fosetti, replacing Ricardo Garcia, who now coaches Chile. But the way Fosetti coaches his team compared to Garcia is just a lot different, and they almost play for ties, more conservative approach. Yesterday's game, they did get 9 shots off, 4 of them on goal, but Maxime Caripa, he was just a total wall for Canada, and these Peruvian players could get the ball in net. It was tough to watch, whether it was Flores, Orejas shooting it, or even later in the game when they substituted for Paulo Guerrero and Christian Cueva. Nothing worked. Nothing was able to be successful. It's just tough because I'm watching these other South American teams. They progressed as teams. Colombia is still a strong team. Uruguay is still a strong team. Paraguay is still a strong team. It's just underwhelming to see where Peru is now. And, I had high hopes years ago for this team. at least for these players, and just to see where they are now, it's just not going to work. It's not. But back to the game yesterday. It was a hot game. Mind you, both teams had to play in this weather. But also, mind you, one team is closer to the equator, and they should be accustomed to playing in weather like this. But the field temperature was at 103 degrees in Kansas City. Peru was really sloppy, and they definitely lost their composure. There was a headbutt that happened in the first half, right before stoppage, which raised a lot of eyebrows as the one player headbutted the Canadian player, Zidane style. But no card, luckily. But later on in the second half, as things progressed, Miguel Araujo, he tried a slide check for the ball, and it turned into a red card. Initially ruled a yellow card, but then progressed as further review indicated that it should be indicated it was a red card. So Peru was a man down, and I say that the conditions and everything, I say that when it's 11 on 11, 10 on 11, you're working double harder and you're using more energy. So that red card really was almost the omen for the Peruvian team yesterday, as they just could not overcome being a man down. I will admit, though, Canada's not a good team, personally, from what I watched. I understand they played a better game against Argentina, even though they lost. But yesterday, they did not look like a team that was very overwhelmingly good, honestly. I just felt Peru beat themselves more than Canada beat us. And it's tough to watch. Peru did have opportunities, especially with their shots on goal. The time of possession was pretty even for most part, and that's with a man down almost half of the game. But watching Canada's captain Alphonso Davies cross up the whole Peruvian team 3 times to get the ball up the field was really tough to watch from the Peruvian defensive aspect. But overall, this team just isn't anywhere near World Cup status or making any noise in any regards. They're not. They're not going to make it out this group, I don't believe. They play Argentina on Saturday, and I feel they're going to lose probably at best 2-0 if Argentina's nice. But we'll see. Like I said, Jorge Falsetti, though, I'm not sure if he's the right guy for this team. I don't know which coach is the right guy for this team, as this team needs to build more younger and hungry players that actually really want to be there and try to make a difference for this team. It's tough to watch, but seeing where they are now against a team that barely made it even in the Copa America, as Canada had to play against Trinidad and Tobago to make it into this tournament, it's just very underwhelming, disappointing. I still will watch Saturday just for national pride reasons, but overall, I just stick a fork into Peru right now because they ain't doing nothing, man. We ain't going nowhere. We ain't doing nothing. It's tough to watch guys like Paulo Guerrero, Carrillo, and even Christian Cueva. These guys being the foundation of this team and where they are now. It's not going to work. It's not. Paulo's 40 years old. He's had a great career for Peru, given everything involved, but they're just not going to go anywhere, and you just got to take it for what it is and call it how I see it.